Speaking of Huey Lewis,
Yes, he's
Speaking of the
next.
greatest album of all time.
that's right. Huey Lewis in the news.
Sports.
Sports. It is not exclamation point actually, but it's the album that came out after this. Four does have an exclamation mark.
F-O-R-E, like golf.
F-O-R-E, correct? Yeah, the golf term.
Oh, really? Is it
yeah.
honest to God for like FOR? Wow.
F-O-R-E with the exclamation mark. So,
What do you think Huey Lewis's description? Remember, because like sports was supposed to be omnipresent, right? And there's a bunch of singles. What's for? Like golf is a social outing, and this was designed to be just a series of singles that were social pieces.
Yeah, he just wanted to write hits. That's
right.
what he knew would make a successful record.
Right.
It's like sports or hits. Yeah.
Well, anyway, sports comes in at number 408 in the 1980s on Best Ever Albums, number 39 in 1983, number 2,557 of all time. It is Huey Lewis and the News' highest-rated album on Best Ever Albums, and they are ranked number 1422 of overall artists and Best Ever Albums rankings. And this is another Josh special. So, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, John, you started.
I think it's me.
Sorry. Go ahead, John.
I'll be dead honest, guys. I was prepared to shit all over this album, and
You can't shit on this.
It like I can't say it's good, but
Yes, you can, John.
there is nothing unpleasant about this album. It is like being taken into, it's like if all you ate was Slurpees and Snicker bars all day. Like, you know it's bad for you, and you don't want too big a diet, but there's a day, and on the right day, if like you do nothing but eat Slurpees and Snickers, and it just lines up with the day. And I guess this was the week where I like this week, I talked about it at the beginning. It was a tough week, and maybe Huey Lewis and the News, it just was the right week for me to have it because it was such an inoffensive sort of, just nothing in it challenges you, but that was okay, which I think I liked. It was just like ear candy, right? Like, and not ear candy like, ooh, ear candy, you know what I mean? Like I really dug. It's exactly what I thought it was, but it didn't bother me. And it's just the sheer volume of songs where you laugh. And like the thing about Huey Lewis and the News is like, not only do you know the songs, but you know them from all these bizarre contexts and stuff, like movies and you know, there's all over. So like, yeah, the heart of rock and roll, which we did a pretty funny segment on and sing the hits of like how Matt and I immediately both went to the like
cities,
you know, like immediately, yeah, the names of the cities. And
do you like that it started with a heartbeat?
Well, yes, it's, I mean, everything, there is no, it's not, what is it, like there's no subtext, it's all text, right?
Yes.
Like that's the definition of this album. So, and then there's, if you ask me to name like Huey Lewis and the News songs, I'd be able to name 5 or 6 of them. And for some reason, I always forget that Heart and Soul, which I know, of course, is one of them. And then it comes on, I'm like, oh, that's right, this song. And then you're like, ah, God damn it, I kind of like Heart and Soul.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I do too.
Yeah, and it's like, and then Bad is Bad comes in. And it's like, this isn't new wave, and it's not like high end pop, but like there's just something about the lane this is in. It's kind of like when we did Men at Work, but way more even.
Yes.
Mainstreamy. So yeah, I mean, in terms of quality, like it can't be higher than Thumbs in the Middle because it just can't. But in terms of like how it hit me this week, damn if I don't say I enjoyed this album quite a bit. And I love when I get surprised by, because I went in with this album and Lionel Richie, I'm like, ooh, that's two that traditionally, you know, I just don't think it's gonna happen. And unfortunately the Lionel Richie one like went where I went, but the Huey Lewis and the News one, after the second time I listened to it, I said, there's no way I can say anything but I enjoyed this album this week, because I did. I liked it. So yes, believe it or not, a slight thumbs up from me. Huey Lewis and the News. Sports.
Oh, am I next? I believe I'm next.
I believe
you
you're
are.
next,
Yes.
Yes. This album's great, and I'm giving this 2 thumbs up. This is kind of,
I don't know if I'd go quite that far after just tripping over myself.
How high will it be on my rankings? Who knows? But it's,
oh my God.
No.
All right. Wow. Yeah.
I'm doing it just to get a rise out of you. But
okay, I was about to say, yeah.
This is like the most accessible type of easy listening music that you can possibly make. Huey Lewis has somehow created the most infectious hooks imaginable all on one album. You can sing like every song kind of hate it and like it while you're singing along. Like these songs have, well, at least for us, I feel like these songs have wormed our way into their heads and they've never left, because you can immediately start singing as soon as I heard it. The News must be like the greatest bar band in history. That's kind of what I feel like their mode is. Huey Lewis, they're like a bar band mixed with like Blue-Eyed Soul mixed with pop, and they just kind of tread the line between everything.
There's like a lot of groups though that sound like this in this era, like The Knack and like Tommy Two Tone, and like, you know, those there's a lot of those that like have that like guitar sound, but it's like rock and roll but not easily definable as the rock and roll, like classic rock. It's just rock light kind of. So yeah.
Yeah, it's got, this album is well, I said infectious. It's got a clear, crisp sound to it. They have huge hooks. They you know, when you start listing cities in a song like Hard Rock and Roll, which, you know, to be fair, some of my favorite rap songs also list cities on them, but the I think it's just it's written to mass appeal, and it succeeds on a huge level. Heart and Soul, that was also, like John said, it was exactly the song that I had forgotten and then heard. I was like, this is the best song on the album, I think. The Bad is Bad, the songs I didn't know, like Bad is Bad and Walking on a Thin Line, they are just also catchy and fun to sing along to. I was going to make a joke, Matt, that the song that defines the Mets is Bad, but I decided not to. And then,
well, you kind of
just did,
but all right.
Yeah. And then it also kind of embodies this 80s period. You know, he obviously Huey Lewis was in Back to the Future and wrote a song that was on that soundtrack, but something like You Crack Me Up, which is the second to last song, just sounds like it would be in some sort of 80s montage in a movie or something. And it's interesting, John, that you point out Men at Work too, because I also noted that they kind of sound like Men at Work at times, like the bass line or something, and it just it succeeds or overachieves on a level that I didn't think I wasn't expecting, I should say. And I think I picked these albums too because I wanted something that was popular, that, you know, very popular, sold well. This and Lionel Richie are both emblematic of things that were, you know, that were mass appeal. I always look at, I've said this before too, with movies at the box office that were popular at the time don't always stand up the test of time and don't last. So it's interesting to visit what was in the zeitgeist, and I think this is emblematic of that. So I liked it, though. I enjoyed it. It was like Matt with Lionel Richie. This was the album that I could just like kind of listen to on repeat without having to think about it, or and just kind of enjoy it without overanalyzing it too much.
Yeah, it's like, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, this is a very similar reaction to the previous record. You know, It's the same kind of thing. He's not reinventing anything. He's not doing anything all that amazing or artistic or whatever. It's just really good songs, really, really catchy pop songs. I did know, I knew a lot of these songs, not just the hits. I remember, I think a friend or somebody that I knew had this, and I remember listening to it in the car a couple of times. So a song like Heart and Soul, Bad is Bad, I remember that. Heart and Soul, that might have been a single, actually.
I think it was.
Oh, it definitely was.
Heart and Soul was a single. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Bad is Bad, I remember. I Want to Do Drugs, always been a fun song. I've always liked that guitar riff. That's a really cool song. But the songs that stood out for me, again, like Lionel Richie, there were songs that I wasn't that familiar with that I really enjoyed, which Walking on a Thin Line, Finally Found a Home, You Crack Me Up. I thought You Crack Me Up had a great little guitar riff. Just, it's very upbeat, very catchy. It's like, how do you not smile and, you know, enjoy yourself when listening to that? It definitely has the doo-wop thing going on with the Bad is Bad, and If This Is It, it's a really catchy song. And if their intention was to just crank out a bunch of hits, I think they did it, you know. And this is, you know, the Josh specials here I'm enjoying so far. You know, it's again a more of a universal sound, and I think Huey Lewis is one of those artists that he's certainly, I wouldn't classify or characterize him as cool. So I think some people, it's like, oh, Huey Lewis in the News. It's always kind of a goofy name for a band anyway,
Yeah.
But the music's pretty good, So it's like, this is one of those things where I kind of check the ego at the door and just go, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. There's nothing unlikable about this, and and it was kind of nice going back to it. So I don't think there were any songs on here that I disliked. He's got the Honky Tonk Blues. It looks like it's a Hank Williams cover.
It's like the most basic,
yeah,
kind of.
But it's okay.
Rock and blues number, yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm appreciating a little bit about this week. Is the straightforward nature. We're going to do another album coming up after this. The straightforward nature of some of this stuff, to me, is actually, it's somewhat refreshing. I like all the other stuff that we're doing. I like kind of the underground, really groundbreaking artistic records.
Finding the
but
new artists.
there's a place in my heart for stuff like this as well. So this is an easy thumbs up for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like this music, though. It doesn't exist in any like emotional resonance, though. It exists as very much it's like that person you meet who's very pleasant, and you're like, oh, they're a pleasant person, but I don't know anything about them, and I have no real concept of who they are and what they do. They just sort of are pleasant, right? But that's where it's there. That's what I feel this album is. I'm not going to say it's sterile, but it's sort of, I enjoyed it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it evokes deep thinking. Yeah, which is okay. Like, let me finish. It's okay. It's okay. And, and sometimes it's actually even a good thing. But once again, it's a very hard album, because part of this show's, well, maybe Matt and I disagree on this, but part of this show's concept is, you know what I mean, to put everything in context, right? And at least for me, right? And where it is. It's very hard to put an album like this in, because it's like, where do you classify cotton candy as food? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's hard. It's not necessarily bad or good. It's just, it has its own place. And that's how I feel about this album. It's just, yeah.
I know what you mean, and I get it, but I also, like, I know you talk a lot about emotional resonance, and I the more you're talking about that, the more I realize it's like, that is not as important to me. And I can just enjoy it for what it is. I can enjoy the cotton candy, and sometimes enjoy it just as much as the filet mignon. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I did too this week, in fairness.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, but like anything else, I think just generally speaking, I like a variety of things. So, but there's some things I just like more than others. But yeah, I don't want to listen to stuff like this all the time and never be challenged or hear something different or unique or whatever. But man, it's fun to listen to it when it comes up. So, and I don't know, emotional resonance, I guess, never really. Yeah, I mean, I think we just look for different things sometimes, John. I think that's just what it. Well,
it's also, I think, I felt like a traitor to the 17-year-old version of me, who is probably somewhere in the back blowing its brains out that I'm giving a positive review to Huey Lewis in the News Sports. But I have to be true to how I feel. And
would this fall under the category of a guilty pleasure for you then, John?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I enjoyed it, but guilty pleasure is something that I like unabashedly will play and defend. That's more like the Kiss, right? Would probably be my highest degree guilty pleasure band, because I can completely understand why they're all the things that you shouldn't be, but I'm not going to sit and say I can't play the hell out of that album, and
yeah, I've talked to some friends about that. Maybe that's an essential question at some point, but the concept of a guilty pleasure shouldn't really even exist. If you like something, you should just like it, and who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
I pretty much agree with that.
I
don't feel guilty about liking this. I feel more I just found it humorous, because it's it just
yeah. Well, we all loved it.
I was about to say. With that being said, the fact that all three of us gave it a thumbs up should tell you.
Sports.
Yeah. I will still hold, though, that is the god awful worst freaking. That's right up there with like Billy Corgan in terms of like worst fucking titles. Like the Billy Corgan song titles and album titles. Like I always think of him as like sort of the bar for that. But
well, at least there's some brevity here. I mean, melancholy.
Yes, there is. There is. Yeah, there is. Well, 4 is more like the changing of the spellings and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, God damn it, slight thumbs